And we live. Happy Wednesday and welcome to another Everybody Can't Go Convo. This is your host, Jessi Holley. And today, you see, you get me. So I want to talk to you guys about kind of a serious topic, a little bit. I mean, it depends on what you're here for, which usually is growth. So today we're going to talk about making the adjustments, not just addressing the problem. And I know you might say, well, dang, why are we talking about that? Because I want to give you guys the ABCs to going on ahead and dealing with getting down to not just what's the problem, but looking at solutions to that problem. And I mean, me personally, I'm on that type of time where I'm like, if we're not about to talk about a solution, why are we talking about the problem? Now, I do understand that there is space for that when you are looking to vent, when you need to get something off of your chest, when you need to express yourself, talk about how you feel. There is a time and a place for that. But if you find yourself in the habit of always talking about the problem, but you never get to the part of talking about the problem where you get to getting the solutions, that means that you're never getting to the point where adjustments are being made. And we talk a lot about, around here at least, we talk a lot about how you get to choose and that you aren't able to control anyone else's behavior. So, what does that mean? That means that you can control your own behavior. And with doing that, sometimes the necessary adjustments are going to come from you. Not just in how you communicate, but sometimes you need to make an adjustment or make a change and so that you're able to fix the problem, even if you aren't the problem. That doesn't mean that you can't be the solution. So, we're going to go through the ABCs of making the adjustments, not just addressing those problems so that we can get you to a better state, whether it's an internal conflict, a conflict that you have just with yourself, or if we're talking about some type of problem or conflict that you have with other people or another group. So, very first thing, A is for awareness. Awareness is the first step. It's not the final one. So you heard I just said we're not just venting and talking about our problems and just we're just gonna say what the problem is. We're gonna complain about it. That's all well and good. It serves its purpose with communicating what the problem actually is, and also so that you're able to vent, you're able to get that stuff off your chest. But that first step of awareness is so that you are able to recognize what the problem is exactly. What is the problem? Why is it important to you? Why do you feel the need to express it as an issue? Um, what feelings are you having surrounding the problem? Now, a lot of times this is where things can go all the way left. Is cussing, screaming, spitting, fighting, hollering, all of the extra that is not necessary in order for you to bring awareness to the problem that's at hand. And sometimes, I mean, it doesn't have to be out loud and full of drama. Sometimes that problem that needs to be brought to the forefront, it can be, how shall we say, inadvertently not addressed by quietly or not so quietly, but calmly taking the problem to someone else. You're going to vent, but you never address the person that the problem is with. You tell everybody else what the problem is, or someone tells everybody else what the problem is instead of telling you. So, awareness is that first step. And growth can only happen when we follow that awareness of the problem. One, the awareness has to be brought not only to your own attention and for you to think through it, but when you're communicating with others, make sure you're communicating to the right person. Because if you're telling everybody other than the person that you have the problem with, what, what you doing? Who you helping? Not yourself. You kind of running around acting a darn fool is what you're doing. And it's not solving the problem. It may be getting you some attention, but I'm pretty sure there's other ways that you can get attention. Pretty sure. If not, I don't know what to tell you. I'm just like, oh my goodness. If not, I don't know. Rewind back to episode 1 and start the podcast from the very beginning so that I can help you. Or I don't know. And for those of you who are on audio, I am pointing to the everybody can't go sign. So I'm cool with that if that's not what you're rocking with. But this just ain't the place. So make sure that after you communicate in the healthiest way that you possibly can, and in the most caring way that you possibly can. Go ahead and communicate what that problem is, and make sure that you follow that awareness with intentional action. The reason why I say that is because, again, what is the purpose of you bringing up the problem in any capacity beyond venting if you aren't going to address the problem and ultimately solve the problem? Now, solving the problem in itself, that is a multi-tiered approach, a multi-step approach. And so that will break down a little bit further in the rest of these ABCs of making adjustments. A lot of people stay stuck in the problem itself, or stuck, like a failure to launch in how to fix or solve the problem, because they talk about the issue, but they never shift their habits or never request a shift in habits from the other person who is causing the problem. And so when you are just voicing what the problem is, but you aren't necessarily addressing what some of the solutions are, what reaction you would have hoped for, what you feel like you should have received, then that kind of just leaves an open door for, okay, I voiced what the problem was. I just wanted to get it off my chest. That leaves an open door for that behavior to continue. That leaves an open door for there to not be a closed loop on getting a resolution to what the problem is. And so we do want to take a look at what habit shifts or what behavior shifts were you expecting, or that you would like to have as the solution or outcome from you bringing up that problem in the first place, so that a person can, or you can, make those adjustments. The second letter, B, be accountable. There is a danger of accountability without change. So we need to look at how often we're applauding ourselves for being self-aware, or that we're honest. We're direct, we're blunt, we're assertive. But really taking a look at what true accountability looks like when someone is bringing a problem to you, if you are the problem, or when you're bringing the problem to someone else. So there's a twofold way at how we can look at being accountable. So for this letter specifically, this is more so a you thing. If someone brings a problem to you, you do need to be accountable. And when you're talking about true accountability, that doesn't just mean you take responsibility or you take the blame and you're like, oh yeah, sure, I did it. I did it because I was being honest with you. I did it because I'm blunt. You know how I am, or that's just how he or she is. That's great. But when you are staying the same, or communicating the same, or exhibiting the same behaviors, and it has been brought to your attention that there is a problem with the way that you communicate, or there is an issue with how you approached a situation or approached a problem with someone else, that's just how I am, or making whatever excuse for, this is the behavior I exhibit because I'm honest, I'm keeping it real, I'm just super direct, I don't beat around the bush. It's fine, that's great, but that's not actually taking accountability for the problem that you caused. The adjustment that you would be making in that area would be, accountability is shown through action. And the action that I'm talking about is aligning your actions with the changes that you need to make to the way you are addressing others, to the way that you are treating others, to the way that you are addressing yourself, treating yourself, to the way that you're keeping commitments to yourself or others. It's not just about admitting what your flaws are. That comes back to that, oh, well, that's just how I am. Again, that's great. But when you get to the point of admitting a flaw, it's identified as a flaw or a challenge or a blind spot for a reason. there's room, there's opportunity for you to do something to change that, for you to evolve, for you to build on it. We wouldn't have any growth to do if we weren't able to I, identify, identify what our flaws are. And the reason why I don't usually use language like flaws um, or pitfalls or challenges, um, it's because I don't want you to feel like there's something wrong with you because there is an area that you can improve. That's just what it is. It's an area that you can improve. It's an area that you can grow in. And sometimes that area for you to grow in or improve, sometimes the awareness is that's your step one. The step two, when you're taking that accountability, when you're being accountable, when you're aligning your actions with a solution, that doesn't always mean that you are going to turn over this new leaf, you're going to change, you're going to do things so differently. Sometimes it means you just stop. Sometimes it means that there's an area where you are not the best suited for the solution. Therefore, you don't try to be the solution. You don't try to give a solution. You don't try to fix the thing. You just go ahead and leave it as is. And that's where you're allowing other people to be a blessing to you and others by allowing someone else who is better equipped to step in. When you're doing that, I would definitely advise make sure that it's wise counsel, wise counsel, wise counsel. Not just somebody that knows you and they love some drama, they love some issues, they love some problems, they love inserting themselves in helping to get to a resolution, because that kind of just compounds and it's more to whatever the problem or the issue is in the first place. So make sure that when you are being accountable, that you are aligning your actions or the changes that you will implement, the new habits that you will form. Make sure that those are in alignment with the solution that you need to whatever problem has been presented to you. If a friend reaches out to you and says, "Hey, when we were talking the other day, you handled me harshly. You spoke with me in a way that was a bit too blunt. It was a bit too honest. You spoke to me a bit too raw. You didn't sprinkle any sugar on it. I needed a little sugar coating that day. I wasn't feeling the greatest in the way that you chose to use your words. It was a bit rough." Well, that's one of those places where by taking accountability, one, the person has made you aware. Two, you can go ahead and be accountable. That's your choice. But while you're taking that accountability, make sure that you have that soft conversation that the person needs and let them know, I was in a rush, or I was just saying it like it was, but I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I didn't mean to be too abrasive in a time where you needed me to be more caring. Or, or, because if you're talking to people that rough, go ahead and boss all the way up. I'm sorry, but I don't have the space to be that type of friend to you. I'm not able to handle you with care at the times that you need it. And when you boss up and say something like that, be prepared for the consequences of it. If you aren't able to be that safe space, if you aren't able to hold that type of space to be the type of communicator that that friend, relative, spouse, relationship, whomever, if you aren't able to be that type of communicator and safe space that they need at the time, you aren't able to make those adjustments in your communication. Or if you refuse to make those type of adjustments in your communication, just go ahead and say that. What you don't get to choose is what they do with that information if they decide that you are not equipped for them to have certain conversations with. This is one of those tough times. Those of you on audio, I'm on pointing to the sign again. Sometimes that everybody can't go. It's you. If you weren't able to provide what someone else needs. And that's okay. It's really big of you to be able to go ahead and communicate to someone that, hey, I don't have the emotional quotient. I don't have the EQ. I don't have the emotional intelligence to, or I don't have the want to. I don't have the desire to provide that type of communication space for you, or I don't have the space to create that type of environment for you. But if you're aware of that, it would be really big of you, really brave of you to let the other person know. So, we're going to move into C, where we're going from complaints to corrections. Again, we don't want to just vent out the problems and talk about the issue without taking steps to change it. What are you going to do to change it? Sometimes we do need to vent and vent again because we're thinking through what the problem is. We're thinking through what the issue is. But do be mindful, whomever it is that you're talking to about the issue, the problem, the challenge, whether this is in your relationship, whether this is in business, whether this is something about your personal routine. Your breakthroughs happen when you stop circling the problem and when you actually think through the problem. So when you're venting, I want you to really think about, are you venting to get it off your chest? And then that second time when you're re-venting, are you venting just because you're still in your feelings, you're still in your emotions? Or that second time around, sometimes if you get good at it, even that first time around, while you're venting and just getting it off your chest, are you thinking about ways to correct the behavior, ways to correct the issue, ways to address the issue or the problem in a healthy way? Ways to address the problem or the issue so that you're going to be able to get to a win-win for everyone. Because it doesn't always have to be a win-lose. You don't always have to take the L and you don't always have to hand the L to somebody else. I mean, honestly, I just think if you bomb enough, you're able to find a win-win for everybody. I mean, given that you have a cooperative party on the other end as well. So I'm not gonna put it all on you. I can put it all on me. You feel me? So, make sure that you're moving from complaint to correction. It's okay to get it off your chest, but once you get it off your chest, what are you going to do about it in a healthy way? What are you going to do about it? Okay. And sometimes that what are you going to do about it when you get to that space of correction? Sometimes you do have to vent and then pause. You have to take a complete stop and step back from that issue, step back from that thing. You also should consider being open. Who did you vent to? Whether it's a person on earth or whether you decided to go to God to vent. After you're done venting, make sure that your ears are open to listen. And the reason why I say that is because I'm already assuming that you didn't go vent in a foolish place to a foolish person anyhow. When venting, you should be venting to wise counsel. And dare I say, if you was venting to somebody that's not wise counsel, I almost want to say you was just gossiping. Because what'd you tell them for? Why would you need to go to an unsafe space, an unwise place to vent? What is that gonna do other than sow more seeds of drama into your problem? So you gonna sow seeds of problems into your problem? Like, come on, let's be smart about it. So make sure that you take the time if you need to take the time, but also make sure that when you take that time and when you're in that quiet space, so that you are able to consider what you should do, make sure that you have your ears, your mind, and your heart open to whatever advice that your wise counsel may have. And even if you came to your wise counsel with the caveat that, hey, I'm just coming to vent. I don't want any solutions right now. That's fine. And that's fair. But make sure that you go ahead and put a date on it for when you will be seeking advice and or when you will be looking for solutions if you are looking for solutions on the solo. And I'll just go ahead and give my opinion on dealing with something as far as a solution on the solo. um how you gonna go vent to somebody but then when it's solution time you don't want them to say nothing to you? I'll just leave you with that to decide whether or not you think that's fair. And if somebody did that to you, what type of time would you be on? But I guess that's neither here nor there for this particular pod. So lastly is a D for discipline. Discipline over distraction. When you are looking at addressing the problem, changing the behavior, you need to dive deep into the fact that meaningful change, it does require discipline. Some of the problems that may arise, it may come from a habit. We talked about earlier, oh, that's just the way such and such is. It's because they have habitual behavior, a habitual way of speaking, a habitual way of butting into other people's business and not with the intention of helping. The changes that are required to address the problem in a healthy way, a way that's caring, a way that's meaningful, it requires discipline and forethought because you have to realize what it was that you did that was harmful or hurtful to someone else. You do have to take accountability for the behaviors or the habits that you exhibited to another person or people. And when you're moving into that correction, again, I say when you're making these types of changes, don't overpromise and underdeliver. If anything, underpromise and overdeliver. And the reason why I say that is for that very thing, that discipline that it takes to create lasting and meaningful change. It's easy during the apology, right after we take accountability, to say what we about to do, what we gonna do, the new habit that we will start to exhibit. It's easy to say it in the moment. What requires that discipline and that commitment is a true and lasting apology when you come back and you exhibit that new behavior over and over and over and over again. When that becomes the new behavior, when that becomes your new response, when you actually make the adjustment not just in real time. And that's not to take away from making the adjustment in real time, but making that real time adjustment into a lasting adjustment. And that's not something that it just poof and it happens. That does take commitment, that does take discipline to do. And um it takes heart as well. It definitely takes heart as well. So there has to be some type of care for yourself, for others, for your integrity, your ethics, your values, the whatever code it is that you live by. You have to have some type of heart for making that change. You have to have some type of discipline for making that change so that you're able to show up in this new way, create the new habit, and that becomes a new part of how you present yourself to the world and how the world gets to experience you. It's easy to get distracted when we're making a new commitment and being disciplined to replacing a problem behavior with something more positive, something that is solution based, something that is a bit of a healthier option. So, distractions that you'll want to look out for are things like procrastinating. Oh, I'll start doing this new thing next week, or I'll address the problem later. I'll get to it. When, friend? When you gonna get to it? That's why I said put a date on it. When you get done with that venting session and you like, okay, I just want to vent. I'll fix it later. I'll address it later. But when though? Like really decide. Because that procrastination, that is a distraction from getting that correction and being disciplined in the corrective action that you've chosen to solve the problem. Another distraction is perfectionism. When you are looking for a solution so perfect, remember I talked about that win win earlier. A win win is not always possible 100% of the time. But that perfectionism can have you like, no, it could be a win-win no matter what. Nobody has to. So if we just, if there's just a little adjustment here, just a little adjustment here, hold on, one more thing. And you keep finding one more thing, one more thing, one more thing to do, or one more tweak to make to the corrective action. So much so that you never get to actually implementing that corrective action. That's a space where perfectionism is becoming a distraction that is keeping you from being disciplined in that change because you never ended up implementing the change in the first place because you kept going back to the drawing board over and over and over again until you perfected what the change is going to be, but took no action on what the change is or was going to be. So when you're looking at how to perfect this new action, think about what you're thinking about. Make sure you just start. Just get started. It don't take all the extra talking about what you're about to do. When you have all that extra talking about what you're about to do, start heading toward that procrastination trail, that perfectionism trail, where it's all these little details about what's about to happen and you haven't started doing anything. That's another one of those ways that you overpromise and underdeliver because you haven't started to deliver anything. You've just been making promise after promise after promise, and there has been no construction started because you still are drawing out this blueprint at a time where you were already supposed to have broken ground and be laying the foundation for the change. A not so healthy and dare I say I feel like it's intentional. Sometimes it may not be intentional. If it's unintentional, think about what you're thinking about. Pay attention to your words, your actions, and how you deal with conflict. Another distraction is blame shifting. And that takes us right back to the my second point of be accountable and actually be accountable. Not just say that you're taking accountability or responsibility for what was done, but taking true accountability and aligning those actions, not just admitting what your flaws are, but aligning with the actions that you will take to correct the issue. Don't blame it on somebody else. Well, I did this because you did this, but you. We're not talking about everybody else. What can you do to create change, implement change, and affect change? Even in the midst of somebody else acting a fool, what can you do as a solution and to remedy what the problem or the issue is? Any of these distractions that you may experience, they delay your progress. It just lets the problem, even if the problem doesn't grow bigger, it's still sitting there the same size that it was when you started. So you want to make sure that any progress that you can and will make toward a solution, you don't want to delay that. The only delay that you should have on your on the docket is when you need to do that full stop, take a breath so that you're able to tackle this thing head on in a healthy way, and so that you're able to think about and articulate in a healthy way again, so that you're able to articulate what solution it is that you're looking for and how to get there. And make sure that you are making intentional adjustments, not just slapping a little band aid on it to fix the problem for the moment. We're looking at making lasting change. And that's a part of the reason why this discipline over distraction is so important. Because when you're looking for lasting change, you aren't just looking for a quick fix that in the moment, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me take accountability for that. And then you're right back to doing the same thing later tonight, or you're going to do the same thing tomorrow. When you're looking for lasting change, you need to be very intentional with what adjustments you will make incrementally, the ways that you will be able to move from the cycle of whatever the problem is or the challenge is, but moving into that solution and making sure that it is the best solution possible. A solution that you can get started on immediately so that you're able to take some action, and also just making sure that it's 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 doable, it's repeatable, it's sustainable, so that that can become a new part of the way that you operate. It's a new habit that replaces that problematic habit that you had that may be damaging to others and damaging to the relationships that you would like to keep. Because everybody can't go. And you want to make sure that that person that can't go, you want to make sure that it ain't you. Want to make sure that it ain't you. And y'all know what context I mean that in. In this case, based upon what we talked about today, in making the adjustments, not just addressing the problem, because there is a difference. So, thank you guys for tuning in to another Everybody Can't Go Convo. We will see you guys next week. And I will go ahead and give you guys a shameless plug. Make sure that you join us in the DMV area live in DC for Pod Pete's DMV meetup. We will have four dynamic coaches and a special guest speaker coming in. We have podcasters, content creators, nonprofit coaches. We have like the whole kit and caboodle for you. So you will be getting coaching live with myself of Everybody Can't Go Combos. Obviously, you know where you at. We have JR coming through from the Real Let's Talk podcast. We have Chop from Chop House Media Group coming through and the Chop Logic podcast. We also have Nas from Changing the Narrative coming through with us. And we have a special guest speaker coming to you all the way from the great state of Texas. Think I said it right. Y'all Texans, let me know if I said it right. But we got Izzy Bate coming through from the PSA, the Mental Health Podcast as well. You guys go back in the playlist. Go back. You can see my guest appearances on some of these podcasts. You can go back into my playlist and see some of these speakers who have been guests on Everybody Can't Go Convos. So if you want to check it out and you want to see us live in the DMV, that will be Saturday, June 28th, starting bright and early at 10 a.m. We will make sure to get your snacks, get your caffeine. I'll be all the way awake because it'll be 10 a.m. EST. Inside joke for those of you that know. And we will have 4 to 5 hours of dynamic coaching for you guys, Q&A sessions, all types of resources so that you are able to get your goals, your strategy, your vision written out with action steps that you will be able to use and work with immediately in the room and as soon as you leave. And so grab your notebooks, your pens, your paper, your business cards. Bring your phone so that you can do your virtual business card. Be in the building with us on June 28th. That is a Saturday from 10 to 2 in DC. The link is below so that you can grab your tickets on Eventbrite. And with that, I would thank you so much for tuning in for another Wednesday for another Everybody Can't Go Convo. Deuces.